Okay, I'm just going to do a quick use of Gemini. So this is a generative AI tool, and one of the things it can do is answer questions that you have. So I'm going to type in some text, and it's going to give me a response. So let's try with something simple like, can you tell me about whales? So it's thinking right now, and it's going to start to generate an answer. So it usually doesn't take very long, but we can see it still working while this is spinning. And as soon as that stops spinning, it'll be finished. Okay, so we've got an answer. And what this does is it's read a lot of text on the internet, most of the text on the internet, and using what it's learned, it generates an answer containing a bunch of facts about whales. So we can scroll down and see it's got general characteristics, main types of whales, a whole bunch of other things. Like a year or so ago, when you got an answer to one of these questions, you might not be 100% sure that it was real. Maybe it made a mistake or hallucinated, which is when it just makes things up. But I do like that Gemini shows you the sources at the very bottom of your answer. So you can see if you've asked a question that has like a fact-based answer, it tells you what websites it generated the information from. So it's pretty good. You can see these look like pretty good websites to get information from. And even better, at the end of a lot of the facts, so each of these bullet points, for the most part, there's a little tiny triangle. And when you click on that, it says learn more, and it tells you exactly where it got that information from. So we can see that it got this information from the fisheries.noaa.gov website, and that's where it generated this fact. Now, if I click on it, it actually loads up the website, and you can see sometimes, it doesn't do it all the time, it shows in purple where it actually pulled or generated the piece of information it used to generate the answer. So that's kind of cool. You can be really granular about how this works and where the facts come from. And I kind of like that. Now that we've done a query, we've got a few other things in the bottom. We can see a thumbs up. Good response, Gemini. I like your answer. Thumbs down. That wasn't a very good response. Redo, it'll actually just redo the entire query you just had. And because of the way generative AI works, it doesn't usually, or maybe not ever, give you the exact same answer, but it's usually really similar. And there's a nice little share button here. When you click on the share button, you can either export your results straight to Google Doc or to a draft in Gmail if you're working on an email. And then we've got our little three dots here at the end. So we can click double check response. And what that'll do will do a Google search for every single fact you generated. So you can really be sure these are real things. Copy lets you copy and paste the entire result. You can do that by highlighting the text and copying and pasting anyways. And listen, it'll actually read, using a pretty good voice, read the whole answer to you. So that's pretty good too. And of course, if you have any issues, you can say report legal issue if something inappropriate shows up. Now, what's great about this tool too is that if I was doing a Google search and I asked about whales, I'd get a bunch of websites. I'd read those websites, and then maybe I'd have to go back and do a new search and get a new bunch of websites to look at. Well, this is conversational AI, so I'm not limited to that. Once I've gotten my response, if I want to learn more about research and monitoring of whales, I can just ask, can you tell me more about whale research? And it's going to do a new search based on what I've talked about. So I can keep narrowing down the conversation based on what I've learned and learn more about whales. And it'll just keep answering me. So one thing to note though is that I'm talking about whales right now in this question. If I want to talk about something completely different, maybe I've got a question about foxes or coding or how shoelaces were invented. I need to do a new chat because if I start talking about shoelaces here, eventually Gemini is going to get confused because I've completely changed the topic. So a good rule of thumb is do your prompt, answer your question, talk about whatever you're talking about, and then when you want to talk about something new, go to new chat and start over blank, and you can have a new chat. All of your questions are saved or your queries are saved over here on the sides. You can always go back and re-review what you were talking about later. So that's it. We've kind of done a quick text use of Gemini. We've asked it a question using text, and it's provided a response using text. And then we kind of kept the conversation going. That's like the most basic form of use you can do with Gemini. And it's pretty good.